Welcome to Numismatic Vault, the channel where coins aren't just spare change, they're hidden treasures waiting to be found. In today's video, we're diving deep into the world of rare and valuable 5-cent coins. Some of these coins are worth far more than you'd ever imagine, and the best part, they could be sitting in your pocket or coin jar right now. So get ready, because by the end of this video, you might be looking at your change in a whole new way. So on. Top 1 today, we're traveling back to the dawn of a new decade, the year 1980, to explore the fascinating story of the United States Jefferson Nickel. At first glance, the 1980 Jefferson Nickel might look like the same ordinary 5-cent piece you've seen countless times in circulation. For most people, it's just pocket change. But for collectors, this coin is so much more. Hidden within the history of this little nickel are secrets of rarity, errors, and pristine condition that can transform it from an everyday coin into a treasure worth thousands. And by the end of this video, you'll know why some of these nickels are so highly prized, and just how much one rare example can be worth today. Let's start with the history. The Jefferson nickel first appeared in 1938, replacing the Buffalo nickel, and it has remained a staple of American coinage ever since. Designed by Felix Schlag, the obverse features the profile of America's third president, Thomas Jefferson. He is shown facing left, with the word Liberty written in script along the left rim, and the national motto, "In God We Trust," appearing just in front of his face. At the bottom, of course, is the year of minting, 1980. In this case, the reverse showcases Jefferson's Monticello, the elegant home he designed in Virginia. The word Monticello is clearly inscribed, along with E pluribus unum, United States of America, and the denomination 5 cents. For collectors, the details of Monticello are especially important. A sharply struck coin will display crisp lines on the columns and steps of the building, and those tiny details often separate an ordinary coin from one worth a fortune. By 1980, Jefferson Nickels had been in circulation for over 4 decades, and the United States Mint was producing them in enormous numbers. Both the Philadelphia and Denver Mints struck these coins, with the Denver Mint coins marked by a small d to the right of Monticello. Because they were struck in such large quantities, most of these coins ended up in everyday circulation, bouncing from one pocket to another, wearing down over time. Now, you might be asking, if billions were produced, why would a 1980 Jefferson nickel be rare? The answer lies in condition, rarity of special errors, and the incredible demand from collectors for high-grade examples. Condition is the first key factor. Most 1980 nickels you find today are heavily worn. The details on Jefferson's hair and Monticello's steps are often smoothed out from decades of handling. But if you find one that has never been used, what collectors call mint state, the story changes entirely. Coins graded MS65, MS66, or higher by professional grading services are very scarce. At these levels, the luster is bright, the strike is sharp, and there are virtually no scratches or marks. But what really takes the 1980 Jefferson nickel into legendary status are the minting errors and varieties. Double die errors are one of the most sought-after varieties. Imagine looking closely at the date, 1980, or the word Liberty, and seeing a faint doubling effect. That's a double die, and collectors are willing to pay a premium for it. Another fascinating error is the off-center strike. Sometimes the blank planchet wasn't perfectly aligned when struck, resulting in coins where part of the design is missing or shifted off to the side. The more dramatic the error, the higher the value. Some of these off-center nickels can be worth hundreds, even thousands of dollars. There are also planchet errors, where a nickel was accidentally struck on the wrong metal blank. For example, if a 1980 nickel was struck on a planchet meant for a penny or even a foreign coin, it would immediately become a rarity. These kinds of mistakes are so scarce that they create a frenzy among collectors whenever they appear at auction, and let's not forget about full steps varieties. This is a special designation given to Jefferson nickels where the steps of Monticello are fully visible and sharply defined. Because striking quality varied, it's extremely rare to find a 1980 nickel with complete, flawless steps. Coins with full steps are much harder to locate and can be worth several times more than regular mint state nickels. Collectors also love the history surrounding coins. The year 1980 was a turning point in America, the start of a new decade filled with cultural and political change. Owning a coin from this year, especially one in superb condition or with unique errors, is like holding on to a piece of that era. It's more than just money, it's a small metal time capsule of American life. So what should you do if you think you've got a valuable 1980 Jefferson nickel? Start by examining it under good lighting. Check Jefferson's portrait for sharpness, especially the hair details, and look closely at Monticello's steps on the reverse. Use a magnifying glass to check for doubling in the lettering or date. Then, weigh the coin if possible to ensure it's the correct metal composition. If something feels unusual, you might have stumbled upon a planchet error. Finally, if your coin looks special, send it to a professional grading service. A certified grade not only confirms the coin's quality but also boosts its value in the marketplace. Now, here comes the part you've been waiting for, the big value reveal. While most 1980 Jefferson nickels are worth just 5 cents, the rarest examples in pristine condition, especially those with full steps or dramatic minting errors, have sold for an astonishing $83,000. That's right, $83,000 for a single Jefferson nickel from 1980. Who would have thought that a coin most people barely notice could carry such incredible value? That's what makes the world of coin collecting so thrilling. You never know when an ordinary coin might turn out to be extraordinary. So, the next time you're sorting through your change, keep an eye out for those 1980 Jefferson nickels. Take your time, check the details, and you just might discover a small piece of treasure hiding in plain sight. Top 2. We are going to take a closer look at one of the most iconic yet overlooked coins in American pocket change, the Jefferson nickel from the year 1981. For many people, nickels are just 5-cent pieces that buy you gum, sit in parking meters, or rattle around in your wallet. But seasoned collectors know better. Behind the everyday look of the 1981 Jefferson nickel lies a fascinating world of rarity, striking errors, and pristine conditions that can transform this tiny piece of metal into something worth thousands of dollars. So stick with me all the way to the end, because I'll be revealing just how valuable this nickel can be if you're lucky enough to find the right one. Let's start with a bit of history. The Jefferson nickel made its first appearance in 1938, replacing the Buffalo nickel. The design was created by Felix Schlag, and over the decades, it became one of the most familiar coins in circulation. On the obverse, or front, of the coin, you'll see the left-facing profile of Thomas Jefferson, the third President of the United States and the author of the Declaration of Independence. To the left is the word, Liberty, elegantly inscribed in script, with the national motto, In God We Trust, displayed prominently in front of his face. At the bottom, of course, is the date, 1981. Flip the coin over, and you'll see Jefferson's Monticello, his Virginia home, standing proudly as the centerpiece of the reverse design. The words, E pluribus unum, hover above, with Monticello, United States of America, and 5 cents inscribed below. While many people glance at this side and think it's simple, collectors know that the details on Monticello, particularly the steps, are key indicators of a coin's rarity and value. A sharply struck nickel where the steps are fully visible is far rarer than a worn one, and that's where things start to get interesting. By 1981, Jefferson nickels had been around for over 4 decades, and the mint was producing them in massive numbers at both the Philadelphia and Denver facilities. Billions entered circulation. Because of this, the majority of the 1981 nickels that exist today are worn down, scratched, and dulled from years of everyday use. That means that finding one in superb condition, what collectors call mint state, is actually much harder than it sounds, but condition alone isn't the whole story. The real treasures of the 1981 Jefferson nickel world are the error coins and special varieties. Collectors absolutely love errors, because they are unintentional, rare, and often one of a kind. They make ordinary coins into fascinating collectibles. One of the most exciting errors is the doubled die. This occurs when the die used to strike the coin has a doubled image, leading to letters or numbers that look doubled under magnification. Imagine seeing Liberty or the date 1981 appear slightly doubled. That's a double die error, and it can send the value of the coin soaring. Another fascinating type of error is the off-center strike. This happens when the coin is not properly aligned during the minting process. The result is a design that is shifted, leaving part of the coin blank and part of the design incomplete. The more dramatic the off-center strike, the higher the value collectors are willing to pay. There are also planchet errors, which occur when the blank piece of metal used for the coin is flawed or even the wrong size or composition. Sometimes nickels were accidentally struck on blanks intended for dimes or even foreign coins. These rare mistakes are highly prized by collectors and can fetch impressive sums at auction. Then we have one of the most sought-after designations in the Jefferson Nickel series, the full steps variety. This term refers to the steps on Monticello. In most coins, the steps are weakly struck or worn down, but in very rare cases, all the steps appear sharp, clean, and complete. Finding a 1981 nickel with full steps is like striking gold in the world of coin collecting. Collectors will pay a significant premium for such coins, especially if they are in mint state condition. Think about it this way: billions of nickels were produced in 1981, but only a handful survived in near-perfect condition, with either pristine strikes or fascinating errors. That's what makes them so valuable. Scarcity combined with demand always drives the market higher, and the Jefferson Nickel series is no exception. For collectors, part of the joy comes from the hunt. Imagine checking your spare change or an old coin jar and suddenly spotting a nickel from 1981. At first, it looks ordinary, but then you notice something unusual: a doubling in the letters, an off-center design, or those rare full steps shining clearly on Monticello. In that moment, what once looked like pocket change transforms into a treasure worth protecting and possibly selling to eager collectors. So, what should you do if you come across a 1981 Jefferson Nickel? First, handle it carefully. Avoid touching the surfaces too much, because fingerprints and oils can damage the coin. Next, grab a magnifying glass and look for signs of doubling, off-center strikes, or sharp Monticello steps. If the coin looks special, consider weighing it to confirm its metal composition. It might even be a rare planchet error. And most importantly, if you believe you've got a rare example, send it to a professional grading service. Getting a coin officially graded not only confirms its authenticity but can also boost its value significantly in the eyes of buyers. Now comes the part you've all been waiting for, the value reveal. While most 1981 nickels are worth just 5 cents, there are rare examples in top mint state condition, or those with unique errors and full steps, that can command an extraordinary price at auction. Some of these rare 1981 Jefferson Nickels have sold for as much as $80,000, yes, you heard that correctly, $80,000 for a nickel that many people wouldn't even give a second glance to. That's the magic of coin collecting. What seems ordinary at first can turn out to be a hidden treasure once you know what to look for. So the next time you're sorting through change, don't ignore the nickels, especially those from 1981. With patience, sharp eyes, and a bit of luck, you just might uncover a coin that could change your life. Top 3. We're going to take a trip back to the 1980s, a time of bold fashion, booming music, and changing history, to look closely at the United States Jefferson Nickel from 1984. Now, I know what you might be thinking. A nickel? From the 1980s? Surely that's just everyday pocket change, right? Well, not quite. For seasoned coin enthusiasts, the 1984 Jefferson Nickel is far more than just a 5-cent piece. Within this year's production lies a mix of fascinating errors, condition rarities, and collector demand that can make certain examples worth thousands of dollars. And if you stick with me until the very end, I'll reveal just how much a rare 1984 Jefferson Nickel can be worth. Prepare to be amazed. Let's begin with a little history. The Jefferson Nickel was first struck in 1938, designed by Felix Schlag to replace the Buffalo nickel. For decades, it became one of the most recognizable coins in circulation. The obverse features the left-facing portrait of Thomas Jefferson, complete with his serious expression and flowing hair. Along the rim is the word "Liberty," while the motto, "In God We Trust," sits prominently at the left, and the date, 1984, is displayed just below. On the reverse, you'll find Monticello, Jefferson's famous home in Virginia. The building's neoclassical design sits proudly in the center, with the words "E Pluribus Unum" above, and "Monticello, United States of America," and 5 cents below. It may look simple, but collectors know the reverse holds one of the most important features to look out for: the steps of Monticello. Clear, sharp, and fully visible steps, known as the full steps variety, are one of the rarest traits a Jefferson nickel can have, and they can dramatically increase the coin's value. So what makes the 1984 Jefferson nickel so interesting? First, it was produced in very large numbers at both the Philadelphia and Denver mints. Millions upon millions rolled out that year, which meant they were destined for heavy circulation. Most of them ended up in people's pockets, cash registers, and banks, where they were used daily and quickly became worn down. That's why finding one in pristine, mint-state condition is surprisingly rare. A coin that has survived decades without scratches, dents, or dulling of its luster is a gem worth holding onto, but beyond condition, the 1984 nickel also has some fascinating mint errors that make it especially collectible. One of the most well-known is the double die error. Imagine looking closely at the word Liberty or the date and seeing the letters slightly repeated or blurred. This doubling effect is caused by imperfections in the die during the minting process. Such errors can turn an ordinary nickel into a highly sought-after rarity. Another type of error collectors adore is the off-center strike. This happens when the blank planchet isn't perfectly aligned inside the press, resulting in a design that appears shifted or partially missing. The more dramatic the off-center strike, the higher the value, especially if the date remains visible. Then there are planchet errors, which occur when the coin is struck on the wrong metal or a flawed blank. For example, some rare nickels from various years have been found struck on penny planchets or even foreign coin blanks. These mistakes are not only rare but also highly intriguing, since each one tells a story about what went wrong inside the mint that day. Now, let's revisit the idea of full steps. On most 1984 nickels, the steps of Monticello are weakly struck or worn away, even from the start. But when you find a nickel where every line of the steps is crisp, clear, and uninterrupted, that coin is elevated to an entirely different level of rarity. Collectors are constantly searching for these full steps nickels, and when one appears in high mint state grade, the bidding wars can get intense. Think of it this way: billions of nickels were made in 1984, but only a handful have survived with sharp strikes, full luster, and rare varieties or errors. That's what makes this coin so exciting. It's not just about the age, it's about the survival of perfection and the accidents that created unique collectibles. So what should you do if you find a 1984 Jefferson nickel? First, examine its condition under good light. Look for sharp details in Jefferson's hair, clear lettering, and most importantly, the steps on Monticello. Next, use a magnifying glass to check for doubling or unusual misalignments. If you suspect you found something special, consider weighing the coin to ensure it matches standard specifications. This can reveal planchet errors. Finally, for coins that appear promising, submit them to a professional grading service. A high grade and a certified label can increase both the credibility and the value of your coin dramatically. And now, the moment you've been waiting for, the value reveal. While most 1984 nickels are worth only their face value of 5 cents, certain examples with pristine condition, full steps, or extraordinary mint errors have sold at auction for an incredible $78,000. Yes, you heard that right, $78,000 for a single Jefferson nickel from 1984. That's the kind of discovery that transforms pocket change into a small fortune and reminds us why coin collecting is such an exciting and rewarding hobby. So don't overlook the nickels in your collection or change jar. Among them could be a rare 1984 Jefferson nickel waiting to reveal its hidden value. Top 4. We're going to dive into a piece of American coinage that most people would pass over without a second thought, the United States Jefferson nickel from the year 1987. Now, you might be thinking, it's just a nickel, worth 5 cents. What could be so special about it? Well, that's where the fun begins. In coin collecting, it's often the ordinary-looking coins that hide the most extraordinary stories. And the Jefferson nickel of 1987 is no exception. With the right condition, rare minting errors, and collector demand, this little coin has the power to transform from pocket change into something worth thousands of dollars. Stick with me until the end, because I'll reveal exactly how much one of these rare nickels can be worth, and trust me, you don't want to miss it. Let's begin with the design and history. The Jefferson nickel has been a staple of American coinage since 1938, replacing the Buffalo nickel. Designed by Felix Schlag, its obverse features the profile of Thomas Jefferson, facing left. His expression is serious, determined, and fitting for a founding father. Surrounding him are the inscriptions, "In God We Trust," on the left, "Liberty," in elegant script on the right, and the date, 1987, at the bottom. The reverse is dominated by Monticello, Jefferson's iconic home in Virginia. The words "E pluribus unum" appear above, while "Monticello, United States of America," and "5 cents" complete the design. This reverse, while familiar, holds the key to rarity for collectors. The sharpness of Monticello, especially its steps, can elevate an ordinary nickel into a treasure if those steps appear fully detailed, a feature known as full steps. By 1987, the Jefferson nickel had already been in circulation for nearly 50 years. The U.S. Mint struck these coins in massive quantities at both the Philadelphia and Denver facilities. Billions were made. Because of this, the vast majority were tossed into circulation, used in stores, vending machines, and everyday life. As a result, most 1987 nickels today show heavy wear, with dulled surfaces and smoothed-out details. So what makes a 1987 Jefferson nickel stand out to collectors? The answer lies in two things: pristine condition and rare minting errors. First, condition. Coins are graded on the Sheldon scale, from poor, barely recognizable, to mint state 70, a flawless coin. Most nickels from 1987 you'll find are circulated and fall somewhere in the middle of the scale. But when you find one in mint state, shiny, crisp, and virtually untouched, it becomes much scarcer. Now add full steps to that, meaning every line of Monticello's staircase is visible, and suddenly you're looking at a coin that collectors will fight over. Very few 1987 nickels exist in that kind of condition, which is why they can reach incredible values at auction. Now let's talk about errors, the holy grail for coin hunters. Errors occur when something goes wrong during the minting process, and they often result in coins that look odd, unique, and highly collectible. For the 1987 nickel, some of the most exciting errors include double die strikes. This is when the die itself is misaligned or struck more than once, creating a doubled image. Look closely at the date, 1987, or the word "Liberty" on some examples, and you might see this doubling effect. Another sought-after error is the off-center strike. This happens when the blank coin isn't perfectly placed in the press, resulting in a design that's shifted or cut off. If the date remains visible and the strike is dramatically off-center, collectors will pay a premium for it. Then there are planchet errors, when the coin is struck on the wrong type of blank. Imagine finding a nickel that was accidentally struck on a dime planchet, making it smaller and lighter than usual. These oddities are extremely rare, and because each one is unique, they can command jaw-dropping prices. It's also worth mentioning die cracks and cuds. A cud is a raised blob of metal caused by a piece of the die breaking away. These imperfections may not look attractive at first, but collectors love them because they represent a true minting anomaly. Put all of these possibilities together: mint state condition, full steps, double dies, off-center strikes, planchet errors, and you begin to understand why a 1987 Jefferson nickel isn't always just a nickel. For collectors, each of these traits adds rarity and therefore value. Now, imagine the thrill of finding one of these in your pocket change or an old coin jar. You might think you're holding just 5 cents, but in reality, you could be holding a treasure worth thousands. That's the beauty of coin collecting: the unexpected discoveries, the hidden gems, and the stories that turn ordinary coins into extraordinary finds. So, if you come across a 1987 Jefferson nickel, don't ignore it. Handle it carefully, inspect Jefferson's profile for sharp details, check Monticello's steps with a magnifying glass, and look closely at the date and lettering for signs of doubling. If you suspect you found something rare, consider having it graded by a professional coin grading service. A certified grade can not only confirm the coin's authenticity but also greatly enhance its value in the marketplace. And now, the part you've all been waiting for, the value reveal. While most 1987 nickels are worth only their face value, the rarest examples, in top mint state condition with full steps or remarkable mint errors, have been known to sell for as much as $76,000. Yes, you heard that right, $76,000 for a Jefferson nickel from 1987. From 5 cents to tens of thousands, that's the magic of numismatics and the reason collectors never stop searching. So, next time you go through your change, take a closer look at those nickels. Among them could be a 1987 Jefferson nickel that changes everything. Top 5. We are turning our attention to a humble yet fascinating coin, the United States Jefferson Nickel from 1988. At first glance, this coin might not seem remarkable. After all, it's just a 5-cent piece that millions of Americans carried in their pockets, used in vending machines, and passed from hand to hand in daily life during the late 1980s. But as every true collector knows, what looks ordinary to most people can, under the right circumstances, turn into something extraordinary. And the 1988 Jefferson Nickel is one of those coins that proves exactly that. So sit back, listen carefully, and enjoy this story, because by the end of this video, you'll learn just how valuable one of these nickels can be, and the number will absolutely surprise you. Let's start with the design. The Jefferson Nickel had been in production since 1938, designed by Felix Schlag. On the obverse side, you'll see the proud and serious profile of Thomas Jefferson, the third President of the United States. His hair is tied back in the classic colonial style, and around him are the inscriptions, "In God We Trust," on the left, "Liberty," on the right in Jefferson's own script, followed by the date 1988. This design had become an American icon by the time this coin was struck, instantly recognizable to millions. Flip the coin over, and the reverse features Monticello, Jefferson's famous home in Virginia. The building is front and center, with E Pluribus Unum above and the denomination 5 cents and United States of America below. One of the details collectors look for is the clarity of Monticello's steps. Coins that show every line in those steps are classified as full steps, and they are far rarer than ordinary nickels. A Jefferson nickel from 1988 with full steps and sharp details is a standout piece that can command a huge premium. Now, let's talk about the context of this coin. The year 1988 fell toward the end of the Cold War, with Ronald Reagan still president and the United States experiencing both optimism and challenge. Billions of coins were being minted in those years, which means the Jefferson nickel from 1988 was struck in enormous numbers at both the Philadelphia and Denver mints. With such large quantities produced, you'd think that none of these nickels would ever be worth more than a few cents. But here's the secret: rarity doesn't always come from low mintage. It comes from condition, survival, and the unexpected twists of minting errors. Most 1988 nickels entered circulation immediately. They were tossed in jars, scraped across countertops, and carried in sweaty pockets. Over time, this constant use wore down the details, dulled the shine, and left behind millions of coins that today look ordinary. But tucked away in collections, in mint rolls, and in forgotten drawers, a few 1988 nickels survived in pristine, untouched condition. Those are the coins that collectors chase, because finding one in gem mint state with full steps is like uncovering buried treasure. Errors, too, play a huge role in making the 1988 nickel so interesting. Collectors absolutely love mint errors because they transform a common coin into a one-of-a-kind rarity. Some known errors for the Jefferson nickel of this period include double die obverse, where the inscriptions like "Liberty" or the date 1988 appear doubled due to a mistake in die production. If you hold a nickel and notice the lettering looks blurry or shadowed, you might just have one of these coveted double dies. Another error to look out for is the off-center strike. This occurs when the coin blank isn't perfectly aligned during striking, leaving part of the design missing or shifted to one side. The more dramatic the off-center strike, especially if the date is still visible, the more collectors will pay. Then there are wrong planchet strikes, which are extremely rare but incredibly valuable. Imagine a nickel that was accidentally struck on a dime planchet, smaller and thinner than normal. Such oddities slip through the cracks only once in a blue moon, but when they do, they become instant treasures in the collecting world. Cuds and die cracks are also worth mentioning. A cud is when part of the die breaks off, leaving a blob-like mark on the coin's surface. These imperfections might look strange, but they are highly collectible because no two are exactly alike. Put it all together: gem mint condition, full steps, double dies, off-center strikes, wrong planchets, and cuds, and you begin to understand why the Jefferson nickel from 1988 is much more than just pocket change. It's a coin that invites collectors to look closer, to study carefully, and to treasure the rare examples that have survived. The excitement of coin collecting is that you never really know what you might find. That jar of change sitting on your shelf, the roll of nickels you pick up from the bank, or even the coin you receive as change at the store could turn out to be something worth far more than its face value. Imagine the thrill of realizing that a simple 5-cent coin in your hand is actually worth thousands of dollars. That's the magic of the Jefferson nickel from 1988. Before I reveal the exact value, here's the takeaway: if you come across one of these nickels, don't dismiss it. Look closely at Jefferson's portrait, study Monticello's steps, and check the coin for doubling, cracks, or unusual strikes. If it looks promising, have it evaluated by a professional coin grading service. A certification can make all the difference when it comes time to sell, ensuring that collectors know they're getting an authentic rarity. And now, the moment you've been waiting for. While most 1988 Jefferson nickels are worth only a few cents, the rarest examples, in gem mint condition with full steps or remarkable mint errors, have been known to sell for as much as $74,000. Yes, you heard that right, $74,000 for a nickel from 1988. From 5 cents to tens of thousands, that is the incredible journey a small piece of metal can take, and it's why coin collectors around the world keep searching, keep learning, and keep collecting. Thank you for watching and joining me on this exploration of the Jefferson nickel from 1988. If you enjoyed this video and want to discover more stories about rare and valuable coins, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notification bell so you never miss an update. Until next time, keep hunting, keep collecting, and who knows, your next coin find could be the treasure you've been waiting for.